It's a secret.
I'm just gonna work on my PowerShell prompt. Guys.
PowerShell. What are you PowerShelling?
Well, okay, so I use PowerShell as my cross-platform shell of choice, which I guarantee you there's a lot of people that would be upset about that, but
Why? PowerShell is like super nice majority
Yeah.
of the time.
it is
Why would people be pissed about it?
because it's from Microsoft. I'm using it on a non-Microsoft platform.
But Microsoft is the ones who hand ported it over to Linux and other
Are you
distros
trying to tell me
to
that
be able
there
to
are
make it compatible with
people
all
in
of
this
that.
world that are more anti-Microsoft than you are?
Yes, but see, I'm anti-Microsoft for the right reason. I will still give them credit where credit is due. Their developer environment is pretty great.
He hates literally
But
everything else.
there are those out there.
Oh,
that
all
say
of their
that is
consumer products are
unacceptable.
garbage. Hot garbage. A lot of their business products, garbage. Their developer products are
What if?
fine. At worst.
What if they brought back Clippy?
I don't think I would hate that. There was a PowerShell module I think I saw the other day. It would replace some kind of help function where it would show Clippy ASCII art.
Okay, I need you to find that because I will
Yeah.
install that module like right now.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
I mean, that should have been a thing somebody built long ago, as soon as it was released, to where you could replace at least the icons, the voice, and the text and stuff of Cortana with Clippy.
Or better yet, open source XP.
That's never gonna happen, but I would be interested to see that.
It'll happen eventually when somebody dumps the SDK and leaks it online.
But is that even?
It's very much illegal. Like you should not do that.
But even
it will happen
to the
eventually. I
to
fully
an effective
believe it.
degree, though. Wouldn't the XP kernel be close enough to modern Windows kernel that would be a security risk?
Okay, so you're getting very heavily now into the back end of what is actually still applicable inside of Windows, and to some portions potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially.
That's what I mean. Like Windows has, like, it's changed quite a bit, and the bones have even changed a fair bit since then.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's enough left over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, that would
because you
be
also have
almost
to
a
remember
security risk to do
XP
that.
was natively built 32-bit, and
Yeah.
then it was updated to 64-bit. And
Was
now
there a 64-bit version of XP?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Yes,
that.
there was.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought that came with like Vista and then
No,
7.
it had a 64-bit
Okay.
update. I think it was Service.
Like Service
I
Pack
think it
2
was
or
either Service
something?
Pack 1 or Service Pack 2.
I want to say it was around. I think it was between the two. I don't think it was technically. I think it was technically its own box and
Yeah,
everything.
I don't remember.
Because I
too much.
remember seeing boxes that had 64 on it.
Yeah, but no, XP had a 64-bit. Windows 7 still had the native where you can do 32 or 64 depending on your install, which again, for the majority of the time, just do 64 unless you had an application that technically could run on top of a 64-bit operating system, but you had a 32-bit compatibility, and even then, it was still flaky, which is why they kept that legacy.
It wasn't really until I guess it wasn't really until Windows 8 or 8.1 where you could effectively say just always download the 64-bit version.
Yeah, I think it was part of. I want to say 8.1 versus 8, because I know 8 you still had a toggle, but it wasn't like download every app as 64-bit. It was still like, well, technically it's whatever the app's default is what it downloads, and you have to manually select it. I know 8.1, I believe, was when they were just like, no,
just
we're
from
done with that.
a general user practice of, if you have the option between 32 and 64, just go ahead and do 64 because it'll always work. That wasn't necessarily the case prior to 8.1. There it was still circumstantial, like
really towards the end of Windows 7, like Service Pack 2 for sure.
We were kind of already there.
We were very heavily already on that 64-bit trend for quite a number of years. 32-bit was quickly dying. It was more of the core infrastructure type of things, like for transport systems,
I wouldn't say
applet and application backends.
It wasn't quickly dying.
Nature.
It was quickly going into hospice because unfortunately it's still around in rare but annoying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's still like in the transport industry. It's still
Yeah.
very popular because those systems haven't been updated since like XP Service Pack 2
or older.
Did I tell you that I found a Windows 7 computer in the wild?
I'm not surprised.
Well, I'm
At an emergency services department
that
that's storing all of their files and is on the internet.
Welcome to Hostility Morning Show. I'm your host, John, joined here today by
Nathan.
Matthew.
Steven.
Steven. I really wish you wouldn't tell me things like that. Like, I'm already
I
disappointed
waited
enough
just till
in the
now
world.
to do it because I knew that you'd love it so much.
There's so much disappointment I have in this current existing world that you piling even that much more on does not help the situation at all.
I know.
Like, we're over here trying to live day by day, trying to make these environments that much better, and you're over here going, oh yeah, here I found this legacy operation that is still a pivotal part of this types of organization. There's nothing you can do about it. So tough.
To be fair, it's net new to us. Like, we haven't managed this. Like, we haven't touched this yet.
Yes, but somebody knew about this for
Yes.
many moons and did nothing about it.
Yeah, apparently, a gentleman that works there whose name starts with an M, who's their techie guy, who has been like managing all this for years. He knows about it.
Do you understand the amount of problems I have with the term techie guy?
Yeah.
If your business is pivotally being run off of a architecture and a system that is crucial for you, you shouldn't have a quote techie guy. You should have a quote multiple techie guys.
Yeah, you shouldn't have
So true.
You shouldn't have the by default person in the office who happens to be the most tech savvy as the only one that does computery things for you.
Just because that one person knows how to print to PDF does not mean he knows how to sysadmin. There's a big difference between the two.
Okay. But to be fair, there's also techie gals.
Yes,
One of my
there
sisters
are.
is one of them.
Yes, there are.
I mean that.
Which
that's,
she'll be
again,
the first to say
fair.
that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the one person in your office that happens to be the most tech savvy should not, like, just because you have one of those doesn't mean that should be your IT solution.
You should always have someone whose their dedicated role is to be managing your infrastructure.
Either you pay them on your payroll or you hire them out.
Yeah.
And it has to be an explicit responsibility, because I don't know how many times I've walked into a company and they don't have somebody on staff who's, and I understand, especially if you're hiring a company to do it for you, I understand not having on staff tech person, but you have to have somebody that is on staff that holds the keys to all of your accounts. You don't do that. Stop it.
And that doesn't mean on a piece of paper in a folder.
It's right. It's a sticky note you keep underneath your keyboard. That's the most secure place for it.
Oh.
All right. Well, moving on, Nathan. I see you have put in a couple of entries here onto the show notes.
Yes.
That you've been leaving us purposely in the dark about. Can you go ahead and elaborate, discuss, dismantle, and/or try and take us on this wild journey of topic 1 by Nathan?
Okay. So this one really isn't much of a mystery. It is me trying to utilize the tools at my disposal to their maximum
potential. Okay.
And failing because of Microsoft. I think it's also worth noting here that boys, we did it.
Or this is becoming a massive theme.
I'm kind of getting to that. When this airs, assuming this doesn't get preempted by something,
Sure.
this is episode 20.
Oh my goodness.
All right, we did it. We beat the statistic.
We have dramatically beaten the statistic. We are in the top, I want to say, what, like 15% of podcasts that we've lasted this long.
Really?
Something it is an astronomical amount of podcasts that do not make it past, I think, 10 episodes.
All right, close
Wow.
up shop.
All right. Hey, we did it.
So we have, and to your point, one of our constant themes, and I think it's an appropriate theme to be discussing during episode 20, Microsoft being terrible. So we utilize, rather, John predominantly utilizes, I've started re-implementing some stuff.
Dabbling.
Dabbling myself.
Opening up the dark arts.
In Microsoft Project.
Necromancy.
Pretty close.
It is.
And we're trying to use it, and John uses it a lot. I'm starting to look at it. So what I'm looking for is, okay, we have this. We also just got I think the mid-tier of Microsoft Power BI. I used that in a past life. Fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Reporting in it is fantastic. So what do I try to do? I try to use Power BI that we have to start setting up reporting from Microsoft Project. That way we can do one dashboard that shows us where everything's at. So we don't have to send 30,000 emails saying, okay, where are we at with this? Where are we at with this? Where are we at with this? There's better ways to do this. So I go dig in. I find a wonderful tutorial on how to do all of this. Well produced. The voiceover is really well done. And I find out that in our top tier licensing, we have very, very high end, very, very top tier Microsoft licensing.
Mhm.
Even in our top tier licensing, it's missing one piece. One piece.
The most important piece.
Apparently the most important piece. And to get that piece, it's another $20 a month license. Now, what makes this even more fun is that Microsoft's rule, and this is Power Platform for those listening. So the way they lay out pricing for the basic 365 licenses is very, very straightforward.
No.
So your basic 3 or 4 licenses
business basic, business standard, business premium is the standard 3 that you sell day in and day out.
Don't forget apps for business and Exchange Online Plan 1 and Plan 2.
We don't discuss apps for business. If you're buying apps for business for 365, first off, go home, rethink your life. Secondly, if you're buying just Exchange Online for a standard mailbox, also go home, rethink your life, and reconsider why are you doing that when you can just literally have a shared mailbox inside of 365 for free.
Yes. But those first, the 3 primary ones that most people will see, most people utilize, it's pretty clearly laid out what's all in them. When you get into when you get into the obscene amount of other licenses, yes, it can get very complicated very quickly. Even that makes more sense than the Power Platform licensing does. And I could just be me. It could just be that this is really first times where I've really been digging into it.
No. You're fine because, again, you have to remember Microsoft's own AI got confused on Microsoft's own licensing models.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's the thing. Somebody plugged in, into the large language model, all of Microsoft's current cloud-based licensing options that are available to you, and, asked a bunch of questions of, if I'm needing this, what license would you recommend? If I need this, what license do I recommend? Where you just basically nullified each other's answers based off these 2 other responses that you did, and it confused itself, and it couldn't figure out which license you should actually have.
The monster birth in the darkness of Microsoft itself does not understand what Microsoft sells.
Correct.
That's so appropriate.
Why do you think I tried to narrow it down to the most simple, basic, easy to understand licenses that we sell day in and day out? Because why should we then go in here trying to figure out the complexity of all of this if an AI can't even tell it to you straight?
Which is one of the things AI is legitimately great at.
Yeah.
That's what AI is for.
That's why it's again, look at the business platform. You have 3 core licenses. The only one that we really recommend is a business premium for multiple reasons. mostly because it's the most feature rich at the best cost per dollar ratio that you have available. Standard and basic do have their own place, not typical in the majority of our clients that we recommend and want to push forward. The enterprise e-licenses also have their place, especially in very large organizations, because that's pretty much the only license you have available to you when you're over that. It's your 200 or 300 user count. I believe it's 300. Um, so yes, they all kind of, if you're looking very top level just for what does my organization need, that's straightforward. As soon as you get into the nitty gritty of what product features do I get bundled with this license, good luck.
It makes the cable TV menu seem rational. Remember back in the day when your only option
You were aging yourself so fast.
for TV was cable,
Yeah.
and there were cable plans, and they made no sense at all.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Microsoft has taken that to 11.
I think it's a valid comparison.
Yeah. Very, very straightforward because it's just I'm sorry. For you to get the sports package, you have to buy this package. And if you only wanted these 7 channels, it comes in the 500 channel bundle. And oh my gosh, there's not a discount for that for you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the things that they haven't even done yet, but are they're going to do. Like the what's Jonathan? Would you describe the absurd, nonsensical thing they're about to do that actually affects all 365 customers with licensing because they're breaking one particular thing out into its own license they're going to make everyone buy?
Oh, the thing I was explaining to Nathan earlier, Microsoft's current business model is take a good, happy product that you have right now, find a key feature that everyone likes, break that off as its own separate thing, and then charge you for it.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, Teams is being that.
Yeah, the thing that like
And
a considerable majority, I would say, of customers who purchase 365 licensing utilize right out of the gate.
And of course, it's broken up into 3 license models too.
Stop.
I'm not kidding.
What could they possibly break Teams down into as far as functionality?
Teams, Team Pro, and then there's one other tier that I got made aware of.
What features would be
I don't know.
like behind the paywall?
I have no idea. I know Teams Phone is also broken out, but that's always been broken.
I mean,
was gonna say that was-
okay,
that was always
that's
broken out.
understandable.
But just other stuff. Listen, for them, Steven, for them to continue to develop and support that product, they're going to have to obviously accrues an additional cost. So why raise the entire price of the license just to keep accruing on that cost when you can just break that out and have the dedicated
Are
funds?
they going to improve it? Are
No.
they going to improve?
No.
Oh.
But this is the devil.
I
This is
see.
this is the business devil's advocate reasoning here. Of listen, the numbers came back saying development of Teams is expensive. How can we make this more profitable for us? Simple. We break it out, charge separate for it for whatever we want. People are going to buy it no matter what because it's Teams, and people love Teams. Obviously, it's the best product we have. Our best foot forward. No issues. Definitely wasn't better back in 2019 and 2020.
That's absolutely.
No. New Teams is the best thing ever. You don't understand.
To be fair, they have fixed some of the issues that I had with it. So when you share like code snippets, right? Before it was just really wonky and the formatting was terrible. Now it's a lot better. Like I actually did it. I stopped doing it for a while just because of how weird it was. And I would just send screenshots and like a link to GitHub of where the thing was. But now it's like actually usable. Because one of the things it would do before was the text was like 3 times the size of everything else in Teams. And so it was just blown out of proportion and really weird. But now it much more seamlessly blends in with everything else. Like it stands out and you still have the syntax highlighting everything, but it's not obnoxious.
Yeah.
Which is very nice. So I was impressed with that. Everything else is kind of wonky. But granted, I use Teams on a daily basis, and outside of things like, Discord or something like that, I haven't used any business alternatives to Teams, and I'm not really a power user for messengers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, and I guess, like,
all that to say,
apparently I recently discovered Zoom would be a competitor based on feature set.
Yes.
And then, but the big standout would be Slack. Even though to me it is, but it isn't because it doesn't have feature parity with Teams, but it's close. I mean, that, of course, popularity.
Yeah.
That's definitely the market At least at the time, a couple of years ago, that was the big competitor in the market. Outside of those, I don't know what the
Slack is still very popular.
yeah. But I mean, besides Slack and Zoom, I don't know what else would really be a true competitor to Teams
Skype,
in the
but
current market.
Skype is technically
Um,
still alive. It's not really.
But that's only really a competitor on the video calling side of things.
The team collaboration legitimately from the chat functionality and really the ease of collaboration. Funny enough, which I've actually been discovering more and more, a lot of businesses are using Discord.
okay, Discord. Yeah. Discord
Yeah.
would be.
Now I don't know if they actually have like a Discord for business or anything like that, but I do know
They got Nitro.
that's that. No. No, but like that's an interesting one where you can take like a product that was targeted at, basically gamers and that kind of I'm just gonna say it, nerd culture, kind of that era of bringing all those individuals together and now applying that to the business landscape.
Mhm.
Like if you take that basically that set tooling and then just do a little bit of reconfiguring to make it look professional, and I'm putting big quotes on that, and then do Discord for business, and then just basically sell a set standard license for that. I mean, honestly, that would be a very strong competitor.
Honestly, that would be I think that, especially with the back end working as well as it does, and I mean, just Discord just works.
Except when Cloudflare goes down.
Well, yeah, but that would actually be a better and direct competitor to Slack, because as far as feature parity, Discord and Slack are practically the same thing. Because Slack with you can have what does it call it? It's not Teams. It's channels. So Slack allows you to have different channels and assign people to channels, similar to the way Discord does. And then Teams just takes that one step farther, where you have a team and you have channels within.
Oh, that's hilarious. If I Google Discord for business, the first thing that pops up is Slack.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's actually a good point. I mean, that would probably be something that Discord execs, y'all might want to think about that.
So, Teams, they're breaking it out. They're
It's
going to make it
terrible.
more expensive.
It's all terrible. It's all
If for those listening, if you want to do reporting with Power BI, then you can actually do it pretty simply with what's included in higher level Microsoft general licenses. However, it only really works well if the data is a standard Microsoft file type, like let's say Word or Excel, predominantly Excel, and you have it in SharePoint. You can get to a lot of stuff if you save it in SharePoint.
So that's the aspect of it where you need Power Apps so that Power BI can interpret the additional file types.
So basically, the way Microsoft has it set up, apparently, is you have your small business
Mhm.
where everything is supposed to be in SharePoint. Which, if you look at all of the documentation, everything that is how it is supposed to be. Do not save your company-wide files in OneDrive. OneDrive is for you, the individual.
Uh-huh.
SharePoint is for your entire company. You are going to save a file that's just for you, and it's mydailytasks.word, mydailytasks.excel. Fine, put that in OneDrive. But if it's for the entire company, put it in a SharePoint site.
If more than one person needs to see it at any given time, it goes in SharePoint, period.
Yes.
If it's a document that only you ever have to see and interact with, then it's okay to go in OneDrive.
And I will
Unless it's business crucial.
Unless it's business crucial.
Yes. But yeah, that's what
So
SharePoint
really
is
just
for.
put stuff in SharePoint. Like just put stuff in SharePoint.
And so if it's in SharePoint, Power BI, and there's actually a couple of other visibility tools Microsoft has, can find it very easily. Can find it easily. You can do your reporting, et cetera, et cetera. If, however, you want to go into the higher end applications like projects, they expect everything to go first. The path that I found was it's projects. This is all in the web, by the way. Projects to Power Platform, which within Power Platform, all of the data is housed in Dataverse, what it's called. And that's not a line item you'll typically see on any of the licensing. It's just If data is in Power Platform, it's in Dataverse.
They literally have a thing called Dataverse.
Yes.
Yeah, Microsoft has their own thing called Metaverse as well. It's part of the AD sync agent. Yeah, when you go and actually look at the traversal of how it's being pushed into the cloud, yeah, it's in the Metaverse.
Okay,
Thanks, I hate it.
That I do too. So yeah, there's a Dataverse. That is what Power BI would actually be pulling from. However, the connectors, there's two connectors. There is the connector that connects to, and I don't know why I didn't really get this far because it probably wasn't worth my time at this point. You have a connector that connects into projects, and then you have another connector that connects into Power Platform. And it's that connector to Power Platform that, if I was reading the licenses correctly, $20 a month. Now I think the way it is, I think that that license is only applicable to the people that are implementing, that are making changes, writing it, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
If you're just looking at a report,
that
doesn't
Microsoft
cost you.
typically doesn't charge you for viewing a dashboard inside of the Power Platform.
So this isn't like one of those features that is, oh, if you want to use this, not only do you need this license, but every user in the tenant has to be licensed for it to even.
If you're going to be managing, manipulating the data, or building out the reports itself, you have to have a license to view the report in Power Platform. Based off my understanding and what I have had to help spin up in the past, no, because the majority of the business licenses come with a basic version of Power Automate and the not Power Toys, a different thing. Power Platform already in there that you can view the information, and you have very basic operations that you can do. But anything more advanced requires either a separate license, like what would that be, like Power BI Pro or something along of that nature, or you have to upgrade your current business licenses to a standard that actually has that bundled with it. Again, the complexity of Microsoft licenses.
I hate it.
If you need some really good toilet reads, I can send you some articles on outlining all of this for you.
And it's painful.
It's like reading the shampoo bottle, but it's even more confusing.
So that has been my adventure. I needed to whine about it for a while. I thank you all for indulging me in my complaint session.
Do you feel better?
A little bit.
Okay.
Anytime. I'll send you to the Microsoft feature matrix later, and then you can really review the asinineness of Microsoft licenses.
No, you should send him to an interim technical rep that would help him. That would help explain the Microsoft features to him.
If you can get in contact with one.
You take a nice little nap while you're on hold
for a few days. I'm not joking.
Okay. On to safer topics now.
Is it though?
Is it safer?
Actually, it's not. It's just less.
I
don't know. Like topic 2 by Nathan - blind react. I don't know if that's much safer.
Okay, so
not that I know what it is.
We spend
not that I'm reading off the docket, anyways.
A lot of time arguing about stuff.
No, we don't,
and that's fine.
No, we have an open discussion where sometimes disagreements are expressed. There we go. It's back.
So maybe a longer cable would maybe be in order.
That is a longer
one
cable.
That has more slack and less tension on it.
It actually doesn't have. It has slack on it now. Like no, it legitimately just like backed itself out.
They don't do that.
Yeah, they do when you bang on the floor and it's fine. Yes, I'll buy a longer USB-C cable. Okay, the hidden
maybe a better quality one that latches better.
Or maybe find like a lock
or
thing.
Epoxy it in there.
That one came with the Focusrite. It was a bundled cable. It was a 6-foot cable.
Unacceptable.
Maybe like a little clip or something for the part of the cable.
Epoxy tack welded in place.
No, if there's a screw back there, I can attach to all 3D print a bracket to put around the cable. Happy with that?
That works.
Yes.
I think that's a brilliant idea of your a brilliant usage of your 3D printer.
Turn the light back off.
Fine.
Sit back down. We'll restart the show. What was the last thing you said?
I don't remember.
We have like replay, don't we?
I'd have to stop the recording to go back, play it, to then restart the recording.
That can be your next to do.
I was saying
to figure out how to go back and live replay.
I know how to do live replay, but it requires me you have to stop the.
We were talking about how we don't argue.
So
that's fitting.
We don't argue. We have outward loud discussions about current topics, and potentially disagreements occur that we like to express ourselves in manners that may resemble an argument, but in reality, we're both agreeing with each other. We just don't view it in that way.
4 initiatives that I am currently planning on for season 2, which we will discuss off air because I am not ready to let the audience in on
Yeah,
plans.
who are we voting off the island?
We can. It's still too early in the season to reveal that. That is an end of season show.
Yeah, it's like in the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
And we have more episodes.
Oh,
to
you
go
guys
in the
didn't
year.
read the memo? What?
Anyway, we need definitions. We need a general does not be precise.
Definitions of what?
We're getting there. A general agreement on commonly used definitions.
What's the definition of commonly used definitions?
For this current recording, I have a list. I wrote out a list. I am going to, for the audience, read out the list. The rest of you will kind of read it and contemplate it. And then we will discuss whether the elements that should stay on the list, elements that need to be removed from the list. And this list will be the hostility in the morning definition
I don't like this already.
of a normal user.
Oh God, we're gonna offend somebody so bad.
All right, so I'm putting this in the show notes.
Is it gonna destroy the formatting?
I don't. It's just bullet points.
Paste
so it
without
shouldn't-
formatting.
Well, if it does, it's marked down. So Matthew, you can.
Paste without formatting.
Okay, no, it kept it. We're good. All right.
Hold on, hasn't showed up yet.
So for the listeners, and I have this in order, and I think it kind of makes sense. These are the points. These are how I propose the Hostility in the Morning podcast defines a normal user. A normal user can turn on the computer. A normal user can log into the computer, can access a specific Wi-Fi network, can open a web browser, find and utilize websites required by their job, open their email, open, create, edit, save, and share a text file or a .txt file. This has to be done, though, with a application that exists on the computer. You didn't have to go find one and load it because every operating system has a text file editor. Open, create, edit, save, and share a .docx or Word document file. Open, create, edit, save, and share a spreadsheet .xlsx file. Open, create, edit, save, and share a PDF file. Now, this one actually is debatable, and I'm perfectly okay if we want to remove this from a normal user. And then open and use company software. And I don't think we can get more precise than that because companies do have very unique software. So that is the proposal for a normal, because there is at least one level below this.
I think we set the bar too high.
There is a level above this. Now we begin the discussion.
I think that my only complaint is that I wouldn't call this a normal user. I would call this an average user. Unless we are determining that the average is incredibly low.
I stand by
It's pretty low.
normal.
I don't disagree with the list. I think this is fair. I would debate the
Are you
able to
that you
share a
can
PDF?
Create, edit, and share a text file in Chrome OS.
See, I think all of that's reasonable because every operating system that you have is going to have options to do all of this.
John is in pain. I think physical pain right now.
I don't even have the energy to sit here and explain to you. Yes, that can be done in Chrome OS. No, I don't want to demonstrate it, so you have to believe me. Yes, you're being a moron. Shut up. I'm over here going,
It's called being pedantic, sir.
should we just make like the Hostility in the Mornings, like their first book is like, baby's first computer. Just write down, basically put this list on there. No, baby's first.
That is on the table. That is absolutely on the table.
Because I have to wonder if we should. Now that this may be under advanced user, I kind of want to be able to put on there if they're able to connect to their own printer.
Ooh. Mm.
Hey, that is a legitimate question.
Add a net new printer
Yeah.
to the computer.
Yeah.
If it's not currently present.
Yes.
That's a fair one. That's a fair one to discuss. Mm-hmm.
This is a hard one.
Because that process can either be extremely straightforward or it can be
the most complicated thing in the world.
Because if you have to, if it doesn't immediately recognize the drivers over the network and you have to manually select the driver it needs, that can get into you have to Google stuff.
See,
which that be hard.
I have
Google be hard.
My printer at home is a very, very base model of a small office printer, like super, super base model. So we're not talking like a little home computer, a little home printer. It was a little bit more substantial. And for that one, all I've ever had to do, to print it was plug in the USB cable.
Okay, yeah. So
and that's all I had to do. Now, is there other features that I could dig into and utilize? Yes, there are.
Sure, but just to print a thing,
to print
the thing,
to print the PDF file.
Yeah,
just had to plug it in, go to the thing, click the print button, and just wait for it to whir up and make its noises.
But I want my printer on the other side of the room because it doesn't fit on my desk, and so I got to use the Wi-Fi.
That is where trouble arises.
How do I use the Wi-Fi on my printer?
Not even saying it right. It's the Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Sorry, the Wi-Fi.
I think we're kind of past the Wi-Fi. I think Wi-Fi is the normal at this point, just because people have heard it so often.
Yeah, they describe it now as the 5G.
And this is why I didn't tell anyone about this until we were recording. Now, the audience may be wishing I had. I stand by my decision.
I feel the one that I just put on here that's highlighted, Nathan, is also completely fair. That the user knows the difference between a monitor and 100%. A computer.
Knows the difference between a monitor and the computer.
Dude, don't ever clap into the microphone like that ever again. I will tag you as a below average mic user at this point.
No, I will second that for sure. What is can perform on one? What's that?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that too because
I didn't put that in there.
You skipped 0.1. I don't know.
I didn't put that in there.
Who put that in there?
Don't look at me.
I did not put that in there.
The computer put it in there. The computer knows what the user.
Now that may have been a weird thing. I don't know why that's on there.
Where's the what?
I'm opening the version history because we can look.
No. It was copied over. I don't know why.
Jonathan, Steven, and Nathan. My name is not in the list of changes.
Because you haven't made any changes.
It was on the original document. I don't know why I put that there.
No, I just wanted to point that out. I haven't made any changes. You all looked at me.
No, I didn't say it was. I always look at you. You're at you. I'm at the far end of the table away from you. I look over, and the first person I see is typically you, Matthew.
Just for the record, the Microsoft version history for this document says that I am clean. My hand is not on the murder weapon. It was one of you three.
This is an open discussion where disagreements may have occurred, but we were not putting blame solely on you. We were asking, did you put this on here? And
why
you said,
are you so defensive,
no.
Matthew?
Yeah, why did you put it on there, Matthew?
Why do you feel you have to be so defensive?
How did you live edit the log to remove that you put that on here?
Oh, hacker man over here.
You advanced user, you.
Is there anything else that we should add to this?
Knows how to unplug and replug a USB.
I like that.
Okay,
that
if this is USB-A, nobody knows how to do it. It just
yes, you do.
It will go in when it feels like it.
Yeah,
you go in when it feels like it.
You try to put it in, it's wrong. You flip it over. You try to put it in, it's wrong. You flip it over. You put it in,
it's right
and it's right. That's the dance.
It's USB dance.
Everyone knows how to do this on a Type A connector. Everyone knows.
And sometimes you still have to do the dance with Type C, even though it was specifically designed to do away with that.
Funny enough, yes, the USB cable connector, yes, but like the internal header one, no, it is that one. Funny enough, the USB internal header that you plug into is one directional. It can only go in one way.
Oh, like the pinout, like on
Yeah.
the motherboard? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so dumb. Like the other side is universal. You can flip it, doesn't matter. Why not on both sides?
Why?
You have the standard. It's
Sounds like a double standard to me.
You're fired. Get out.
I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Dad joke.
That was kind of
That was a good one.
that was a low hanging cable there.
It was.
All right, going back to desktop support days, if we had a user that could do this basic function and give them praise, what would that be, Steve?
Helmet sticker.
If you were giving out gold stars, who would you give a gold star if they did this task?
Like what would I define them as?
Like
No. It's a task. What's the task?
You
that they
didn't.
did?
It's something incredibly basic that you wouldn't expect a user could do, and they did it.
Let's see. Come back to me.
So I will also preface that a prerequisite for this list is the assumption that the person has been taught how to do all of this. Now, that does sound super obvious, but the reality is, depending on what you have done in your career up to the point where you now find yourself stuck in front of a computer, you may not have ever actually had to deal with some of this before. Some of this, yes. Some of this, no. So this is everything I put on here, I think is fair to expect out of somebody who has been in front of a computer for a week or two and had somebody actually show them how to do all of this.
Would it be fair to set the expectation that at least any entry-level employee and or intern that's coming in, like that has graduated college and is starting their first job, they should at the very minimum be at this level, be able to tick all these boxes?
The only reason I hesitate on that is I do not give higher education that much.
No, I'm not trying to. We're talking about setting expectations here.
Yes.
You would expect, regardless of whether it's a reasonable expectation or not, we would expect that somebody coming out of higher education, starting their first job or their first internship, and they're handed a company computer to do their job, they should at the very least be able to tick every box on this list.
So Matthew, as somebody who's actually had to work in higher education help desk, since you have real world experience with this, what do you think? And for the audience, he looks very pained right now.
I just want to let
the wheels
Steven
are turning
know
for sure.
that your expectations are
skewed,
flawed. They're reasonable, but they're not realistic.
Okay.
That's about all I can say.
So what we're learning from this is the list that I just gave you. If somebody has on their resume a 4-year degree, we cannot assume that they can fulfill these basic tasks on day one.
I mean, we could very easily launch this into an episode about the failures of modern education. It's not just higher ed. These are the kind of things that, especially with,
these are the things you would think a high schooler would be capable of doing,
even
or
like
elementaries,
middle
school.
Because with the rise of Chromebooks and how digital everything has become, I would expect this well before higher ed. If they don't know this after higher ed, they either graduated a long time ago, or the education system has completely failed them to prepare them for the real world.
How is somebody who used a Chromebook throughout school supposed to know how to open a web browser? when the whole thing's just a web browser.
There
You
actually
say
is
that.
in a
You say that.
Chromebook, you actually do have to click on a button or on an icon that is Chrome.
Yeah. So
It's kind of Chromeception, if you will.
it is. If I understand it right, it's not the whole thing is a browser. Like the operating system itself isn't a browser, but pretty much everything on it is a web app unless you've downloaded Android apps. I would assume that the way that things like running what's the Google stuff called, like Sheets and then
Sheets,
Docs,
Pages.
and then Pages is Apple.
Is Apple.
Is that Apple?
I think it's Sheets, Docs, and Ian rattled them off last time. Slides, yeah. Those, I'm pretty sure those are progressive web apps, so that you can run them offline.
You can run those offline.
You can run them offline, but they're still web apps. They're just what a progressive web application is it's a local web app. So it would take too long to explain it. But you can still run it locally. It's not a native application because it's wrapped in a browser.
It's not something that's like for a Windows computer that's installed in the program files and has all that, but you don't have to have an internet connection in order for it to.
Yeah. I don't even know where we were going with that. But if a student has been using a Chromebook, see, that's the thing, and this ties back to the conversation that we had in episode 16, is that all of the shortcuts and the most of the methods that you would go about to do these things, like opening a file, double click on it, plugging a USB, that's going to be the same no matter what because USB is a standard. Opening email, that's dependent on your provider. So you might go to Outlook, you might go to Yahoo, you might go to AOL if you're some kind of Neanderthal.
Now, I think
probably go to Gmail.
So this is also I am referencing this in a purely business or maybe we can even educational, but definitely in a business environment where somebody showed them, here's where this function is. I'm glad you mentioned email, Matthew, because I do forget that there are actually a lot of different methods for managing your email, and companies are going to have different applications.
They will typically have some instructions on here's where you go.
Yeah,
yes.
Because that's another thing that I find it kind of strange, personally, but it's something I've noticed with different businesses. There's kind of three different. I'll generalize it to three. I'm sure that there's some additional caveats here and there, but you have the business that uses something frankly improper sometimes, but more they either have something like they'll use Workspace, and if you have Workspace, then you use Gmail as Gmail is used. You use email in the browser. That's
Correct.
just the way it works.
Correct.
There are also plenty of businesses that use generic Gmail and Yahoo and stuff like that accounts, like for business emails, and those are used in the browser, not exclusively, but I would still say by and large. So like their workflow, like the way you're going to be trained, like new person comes in, here's your email, this is how you access it, going to be through the browser. There are those organizations where it's split between the user base. There's a little bit more, there's independence where like even they'll have Microsoft for email, and some users will opt. They know that the web browser exists or the webmail exists. They like it better, they'll use it. And then some still swear by Outlook and or just a local mail client in general, and that's what they use, and they refuse to use anything else. There is also a third category of business where they have something that they train the new employee on. You use Outlook for your email. It's not a choice that they get. Even if like they wanted to use this, like, oh no, we use Outlook. It's like, oh yeah, you got to go to your Outlook. Go to your Outlook to do this. Go to your Outlook to do that. It's like they use that terminology of the email is Outlook, and that's just like a ubiquitous thing throughout that organization, even through training and new people coming in and stuff like that. So it's a weird one. I mean, it's so important in a business that there's a lot of variation, and specific things different organizations do when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
And I mean, out of all the things on this list, that's the only thing that would be platform dependent.
Yeah.
Or like organization dependent. I could make an argument that docx, .xlsx, those are both very biased towards the Microsoft ecosystem, but I think that's typically how things are going to be done, is either docx or xlsx.
Irregardless of platform you utilize, you will have docx files. You will have XLS. You will have the XL files.
Yeah.
And any of the major.
So I said I could argue it, but I didn't argue.
Yeah, because any of the major open source or Linux based platforms, they all. I think one of them. I don't remember which one. I think one of them actually defaults to those file types anyway.
LibreOffice can open it, and it typically does.
But all of them can open. Like even Apple's applications can both open and save. I've done it many times. These files as well. So you are, and of course a .txt that is the most universal file type there is.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say yes.
Universally used
by the end user, yes. I could make the argument that like XLSX or XLX are the most widely used, but that would be a very depressing rabbit hole.
You're not wrong.
Fair enough. We're glad that you're opting not to argue, since you've given yourself the option of to argue or not to argue.
Yep. All in all, I say it's a good list. It's a good definition.
So yeah, for the specific definition of a normal user.
Yes. And we will be fleshing out a couple of additional user types. I can be talked into 4. I would prefer 3, just to keep this as simple as we can.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
Is this a normal user or a normal end user?
Define.
I'm glad you asked. So let's see, where do I want to start? Apparently there is a difference between user and end user. I'll just start with the old dictionary. The definition of an end user is the ultimate consumer of a finished product, according to old Merriam. This was an interesting quote that I found that is based on who said it. This article from Investopedia quotes the CEO of Proofpoint Essentials, a software that we're familiar with. Blah blah blah. Comes to me something about changing end user behavior and reducing risk of cybersecurity. Oh wait, no, I thought he said something found. Never mind. I guess I just thought it was nifty that's who it was. But yeah, so there was a better one. I've written sorry, I thought I was prepared for this. End users are the users of an end product or service, while users are all the users and stakeholders who interact with the different phases of such a product or service. This was from a answer in a thread on Reddit, on Stack Exchange, excuse me.
So in that context, it would be an end user. Yes.
Even in that context, I would still call this a user, because I
only bring that up and
it's a fair point. It's a fair question,
because there was I actually saw in one of these, I saw a diagram of, is basically just 2 bubbles, one superimposed over the other, and it was user inside of end. Like end user is a more broad encapsulation of people, and user is more specific. So I think where I was going with that is, in this context, we, end user in our worlds, could be really misconstrued as the organization itself. Like a department within or an organization could be considered an end user, whereas user is more specifically the people, the individual persons that are doing things.
For many applications, especially if you're talking in terms of software development, or even some process development, customer service type conversations, end users, fine. In this particular case, I am looking at something that's looking at normal terminology we use. In general conversation, the only time you ever use end user is when you're trying to be very professional, and typically is done in the context of project meetings or development meetings or that kind of thing.
Writing knowledge base articles.
Yes, that kind of thing. Whereas for 4 or 5 idiots talking into microphones, we're not that formal. And in our general day-to-day conversations amongst each other, amongst colleagues even, we're not that precise. And even if we were that precise, whether you are an end user or you are a developer or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, can't meet all these, you got a problem.
That is a true statement.
And that is, in my mind, that's the end goal, if you will. Is what can we say is a universal expectation, regardless of what you're, independent of job function. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't why you're there. We will get into what we call people who don't meet this and kind of how that gets defined, and then those that are way beyond this, how that's defined. And then these definitions will be used in other potentially more contentious discussions down the road.
So at this point, so we've all pretty well agreed with this list, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a good baseline, at least.
And that's the point, right? This is not to be exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination. This is a baseline.
So now, Matthew, that we have defined what a normal user is, can we please get the straight answer of for a normal user?
I think the average user, as described here, a normal user would have a not terrible time.
Can this person use Linux?
System. I would say yes.
Okay.
Because in what we've described here, what's the first thing on the list is turn on the computer. It's not turn on the computer and log in, which in my best guess assumes that there's already an operating system installed. That's not the responsibility of the user.
Yeah,
right?
no, we wouldn't expect
Never.
them. Yeah,
Right.
No.
So at that point, when we've moved beyond that level,
that would be one of the
all they
most
have to do is log
dangerous things ever.
and then do these things. I would say that they'd have a simple time.
Now,
no matter what operating system.
I will also point out that the discussion around platforms and usage of platforms, that's in the pipeline for future discussion.
We'll revisit that at
not in the context of what it was, in a new context.
An argument.
in a new context.
A group discussion, not an argument. It's a debate.
It was so the true definition of an argument, and you can fact check me on this, Steven, so you got Merriam-Webster pulled up. The true definition of an argument is supposed to be a comparison of ideas. Typically in modern discourse, that's not what happens. It's not discourse.
We already discussed Discord.
Beating each other over the head with whatever your view and opinion is. But this, I think, argument as it's supposed to be defined is a good term to describe what we're trying to do here.
It's a term of endearment.
So, John, you've been kind of quiet. Anything else to add to this little?
No, you've encompassed pretty much a good idea of what a normal user should be, and I feel all of our listeners who may find a small deficit in this specific region now know what they should work on.
Yes.
And if you need further assistance, Steven, where can the people find us?
I didn't sign up for this. I got away from the help desk.
Well, if you stayed this long and you liked what you heard, you can leave a comment for us and you can let us know whatever your opinion or argument or otherwise is.
Creative discussions might be.
Yep. You can also you can hit us up on X, formerly known as Twitter. We can get to us at Facebook and Instagram as well. Or you can reach out to us at info@hostilityinthemorning.com. We upload every other Tuesday, very early in the morning on Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. If you want a one-stop shop for everything Hostile, you can find everything at hostilityinthemorning.com. And remember, have a hostile morning.